The wolves hunt him, but they're not just animals. They're memories, trauma, guilt. He survived the crash, but something inside him didn't. The man walking through the snow is not fully alive. He's moving, but hollow. And then, near the end, his eyes change. The rage is no longer aimed at the wolves. It's aimed at what's been living inside him all along. When he raises that symbol against them, he's not fighting to stay alive anymore. He's fighting to reclaim himself. He isn't weak. He just doesn't know who he is. Half his life has already passed. Work, routine, a quiet exhaustion. The world didn't break him. He ignored his calling. Finding your purpose late isn't the tragedy. The tragedy is finding it and still refusing to answer. When he finally accepts who he is, he doesn't become famous. He becomes responsible. He was built to last, and yet he's dying. Every wound that never healed is now collecting interest. The body fails. The memories weigh more than the future. His strength, once a gift, is now poisoned. Not because it was evil, but because it was never redeemed. He doesn't run forward anymore. He limps. And still, he protects. When strength can no longer be used to live, it can still be used to give life meaning. When Rocky's story begins, the time is already gone. The talent was there. But poverty, loss, and disbelief aged him early. He knew he had more. The world told him he didn't. They didn't promise him victory, only a chance. And for him, that was enough. Not to become a champion, but to prove his life wasn't a mistake. 4 stories, different worlds, different men. Yet the same pattern keeps appearing. Real strength. A delayed awakening. A life already marked by loss. Men who don't rise in their prime, but are forced to stand when there's almost nothing left. Before we go any further, let me explain something. I didn't choose Samson for aesthetics. I chose him for anthropology. I could have built this around Achilles, powerful, legendary, a classic tragic hero. But Achilles is written to be admired. Samson is written to be understood, and that changes everything. Achilles' story is epic and concentrated. Samson's is longer, messier, more human. Chapters filled with choices, impulses, failures, consequences. The Bible isn't trying to preserve its heroes. It tells the truth. Because in the end, it's not just the story of people. It's the story of how God responds to human drama and moves history forward through his will. And when you place Samson alongside figures like Achilles, Beowulf, Gilgamesh, or even Thor, I'm not saying they're the same. I'm pointing to the same axis. Real strength that shows up in bursts, but doesn't always become a stable, ordered life. Let me ask you, have you ever felt that in yourself? Like you've got potential, intelligence, courage, talent, and yet you're living on autopilot. Like your days are just one long reaction. The worst kind of darkness isn't having no light at all. It's seeing the possibility of light and watching it fade. It's living in almost becoming, almost doing, almost arriving, while time keeps moving. Samson is born into a world like that. This is the era of the judges. No king, tribal leaders trying to govern and defend a fractured people in a cycle of instability and moral collapse. Scripture describes it with a brutal line: everyone did what was right in their own eyes. And into that chaos comes Samson, born to a barren woman, announced by an angel, set apart from the womb by a vow, a sign that he wasn't meant to live for himself. And here's the part that hits too close to home. Samson doesn't reject strength. He avoids responsibility. He plays with the boundary, negotiates with the calling, delays what he knows he's supposed to become, until he learns the hard truth. Power without direction doesn't build. It charges interest. That's why the Gray, Logan, Rocky, and Unbreakable connect so deeply. They're modern echoes of the same archetype, men with enough strength to change the direction of their lives, but who wake up only after time has already taken its cut. What grips us isn't the external threat. It's the internal mirror. And the biblical ending is always the hardest to accept. Redemption rarely comes in your prime. It comes from what's left. Not the clean victory of a young hero, but the heavy dignity of a man who wakes up late and still answers. Christianity has a word for that: grace. God doesn't work only with the strong or the ready. He calls, confronts, reorients, and sometimes he feels silent. Yet meaning can be born exactly where it looks like there's no time left. That's why this hurts, because strength without love rots. But strength surrendered to the good, even at the end, can become sacrifice. And in the kingdom, sacrifice is never wasted. And you? Have you found your purpose yet? Do you know what you're here to carry? What's the thing you keep avoiding because it would demand the most from you? What if the restlessness you feel isn't burnout, but a signal that you are made for more than survival? And here's the hardest one. If you keep living the way you've been living, where does it lead? If you don't have those answers yet, stay with us here on this channel. We may not always give you the final answers, but we will help you ask better questions. And sometimes, better questions are where transformation begins. And if you want more essays like this, subscribe and follow the channel. There's more coming.